We are live. This is the ChrillCast Live. I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm Will.
And I'm Maria.
And Maria is the guest today. We're going to be interviewing her and also kind of talking about the ocean a little bit. Before we get started, I do want to point out that you guys should be subscribing to both us and her channel if you're not already subscribed. You want to tell everybody about kind of what you do on YouTube?
Yeah, sure. So, hello, I'm a marine biologist by training, but I'm currently kind of focusing more on science communication, and YouTube is one of the ways I do that.
Sorry.
No problem. So I started, my YouTube channel started mostly as vlogs. I wanted to kind of explain what science was all about and what I was doing during my PhD, especially demystify this romantic idea that people have about marine sciences. You know, like people, when you talk about marine sciences or marine biology, people have this very clear vision of what you see in movies, and the reality is so different from that. And
you study megalodons, right? That's that. If you don't study megalodons,
and they are still alive, definitely.
Yes.
Down in the Mariana Trench, right?
Exactly. And we go in submarines every day down.
I saw a movie on this. Okay, there was like this heat layer or something, and he took a submarine down. Totally made sense.
Exactly, made total sense. And so that was kind of an idea, but it somehow transformed into more. And at some point, I started playing Subnautica, which is, I guess, how you guys maybe found me too. I started playing. It all started kind of because of COVID. Can we say that word here?
That's fine. Yeah.
All right. Because I wanted to, my idea was after finishing the PhD, I would go on real life exploration, but because all the restrictions and living in a landlocked country, that was not possible. So I decided, well, let's try out a video game and see how that goes. And it went very well. A lot of people really enjoyed it. And so I kind of continued on with the Subnautica saga on my channel. So in the last months, I'm almost only done gaming videos, but that now I kind of separated, and I've started a second channel actually, which is only for non-marine content, in which I will put most of my gaming, and the other one is going to go again.
You're not allowed to branch out.
Exactly.
You're not allowed to branch out.
And that's it. Well,
you are, you aren't. Which one did you say? Well, she is or she isn't allowed to branch out? I'm confused.
She isn't allowed to branch out.
Isn't allowed. Okay.
I'm not.
And you do have this third channel that would appeal mostly to
Portuguese speakers.
Portuguese speakers.
Yeah.
Right?
But this one, I have been very inactive. Actually, the reason why I've filmed maybe like five, I think 6 episodes that I just didn't put up because I re-listened to them, and my Portuguese is so bad right now. I'm in this time where I'm not able to speak any language correctly because I'm speaking English, German, and Portuguese all at once. And it's just, it seems like my brain can't process that very well.
So how many languages are you fluent in?
I'm just fluent in English and Portuguese.
Okay.
I can speak a bit of German, Spanish, because it's similar to Portuguese, and we listen a lot to it in Portugal. But fluent, I would say only Portuguese and English, yeah.
Excellent.
Or none at this moment.
I used to be semi-fluent in Spanish a long time ago. I could
order a beer. I could go to the bathroom.
Right.
Important things.
Yeah, I could have like very small conversations, but usually they would pick up on my accent immediately, and like people in Mexico would just speak English to me. So it's
Right.
like, what was the point of learning this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because they wanted to practice their English. So as soon as they realized I was, from the United States. Yep.
So you kind of already discussed what got you into YouTube in the first place. You wanted to do the vlogging with the Marine Biologist, real life in real IRL. I can't talk apparently either. But was there anything that led you to YouTube in the first place? And then I have a follow-up question to that after that one.
My boyfriend, because
Okay.
funny thing is, I didn't watch YouTube at all. Like before, I used YouTube just to listen to music. That was it. I was completely unaware of all this the community side of YouTube and all these different types of YouTubers, and like YouTuber, the concept of a YouTuber was kind of alien to me as well. But my boyfriend watched a lot of science channels. And how to do stuff, technical stuff, and I started watching some with him, and I wanted to start to do something related to science communication because of this big gap between science and everything else. There's like it's like two worlds that don't mix, and I felt like I needed to do something about it. And he suggested YouTube because I was in Vienna, and in Austria. It's a German-speaking country, and a lot of the volunteer opportunities and jobs required some fluency in German, which I didn't have. I still don't have. So it was kind of difficult for me to find something while doing my PhD, and he told me that. I'm not sure if he was joking when he said I should start a YouTube channel, but I took it seriously and I started it.
And then my follow-up question to that is, did you do any gaming prior to doing it on YouTube?
No.
No, so that was
no. Yes. Wait, like 15 years ago.
Okay.
I used, but it was not even much. I can maybe count like in one hand the games I played. I played Resident Evil.
Okay.
I played Tomb Raider. Mm-hmm. I played Counter-Strike with my friends in like these online, in the back of the days, you wouldn't play it via the internet. It was like old school. And I played Sims. I don't know if that counts.
No, Sims counts. It's like a world builder.
And Caesar. Kind of, I don't know if you know this game. I love it. Caesar.
I gotta look this one up.
It was like I think a simplified version of Age of the Empires. I think kind of like you had to build your own civilization, like from scratch, and then you had cities, and then you could, So I think mine was Caesar 3. I think it was,
This is the series you're talking about?
No, mine was Caesar 3. Let me see if I can find it. It
does say there's sequels. I see some sequels here. Hold on, let's see. Caesar 2 and Caesar 3 was 1998. Okay, this one?
Exactly that one.
Cool. Okay.
I was pretty young when I played that.
That's about the time I would have been into the Age of Empires franchise. Actually, it was 98, 2000 time frame. So I can respect that. It's a fun like world builder, and it was more like Civilization, I would think, than probably Age of Empires.
Yeah. So there was not so much strategy and war and all, because I know Age of Empires has more like the strategic part. The
conquering and everything else.
I had a lot of friends who played Age of Empires. I would watch, but I never played it myself. So I'm not very much into gaming, or I don't know much about it at all.
So when you started with Subnautica, did you have a PC that could really run it, or did you have to buy a PC to do that?
I had to buy. No, I had a PC. I had just bought a PC, not for Subnautica, but because I had a bad one. And the one I bought, was good, but it was still a small laptop because I wanted a small laptop, very thin. So it still did not run Subnautica very smoothly. And last year I decided to buy a real one that runs Subnautica and gaming and everything. And because even for editing more complex videos, the other one was a bit slow. This one is perfect now. I love it.
Cool. That was something that I think a lot of people learn when they start doing gaming on YouTube, is like, it's not easy to just grab any random computer and try and stream it to YouTube.
That was a complete new world for me. I had never something I never thought about, but definitely. And also to stream and to like the whole everything, because then you also need, I don't know. I've learned a lot about all this, about OBS and all these programs. And
yeah, that's what I'm using right now as my virtual cam for the software right now, is OBS, because you can project that way, and I can pull myself right off the screen if I have to for any reason. But anyways, I learned that Wi-Fi is horrible for streaming. That was my first learning experience. So I had to run a giant cable around my house and plug it into my basement.
I still don't do that. I still use Wi-Fi, which it can sometimes get me into troubles with live streaming games while I'm gaming.
Well, if I was in my upstairs doing it, it would be fine. But I'm in my basement where it's like a Faraday cage and prevents all of the wireless from getting down here. So it doesn't work very well. But the next question is, how about the ocean? When did you first, or maybe the water in general, but marine life and all that? When did you start getting into that?
Since since I was very, very young. I was very, but I can't really pinpoint because I've said I wanted to be a marine biologist since forever. But I remember there was an Australian show that I absolutely loved, and it was the first time I heard about the existence of a marine biologist, that this is something you can do, which is study. And in this show, it was called Ocean Girl, and in this show there was marine biologists who studied whales, and like whales were my favorite thing in the world. So I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I was, I don't know, 10 11 maybe, and so it continued on, like my passion and my drive to study the ocean and be connected with the ocean. It's something I've always had. I think actually people, this is bad to say, but exactly that one.
Okay.
When I was, so I lived in Atlanta in the US for 6 years when I was a child.
Yeah.
And we went to SeaWorld a lot. And I know this might be controversial, but I started loving orcas because of the shows.
Yeah,
and
that's a gateway for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yes, and since then I had like this passion for marine mammals, and I think it might have started there actually.
I think SeaWorld was always like one of those double-edged swords. It's like it does get kids and people of all ages interested in the ocean and sea life, but at the same time, you want the animals to be treated well while they're doing that kind of stuff. And
I have quite strong feelings about like marine mammals in parks, so I don't agree with it at all, unless it's like a sanctuary sort of things. But like there are some animals which I think it's not so clear cut whether they should be kept or not, but marine mammals is like no, a big hard no from my side.
Oh yeah, I after watching several documentaries, we saw one called Blackfish.
Oh yeah,
and then another one called The Cove. I don't know if you've seen those two movies.
I've seen, yeah.
After
I have not seen The Cove, but I know because I will have to be in a certain emotional state to watch that movie.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
Because I know what it's about, and I know I'm gonna get so angry. And
it's so terrible.
It is, yeah. It's something that my wife and I actually watched together early on in our relationship. So like we always watch those kind of documentaries together. Here's a good question actually to move on to. We can pull the comments up. Have you ever gone scuba diving?
I have. Yes, I have.
How do you enjoy scuba diving?
I love scuba diving, but unfortunately, I don't do it as much as I would like. But now I've convinced finally my boyfriend to take a scuba diving course. Now he loves it. So now we're going to go on scuba diving holidays, which is great. But unlike what most people think, I've never had to scuba dive for my work. Because a lot of people assume because I'm a marine biologist, I scuba dive for work, and I never had to do that. I scuba dive to help other colleagues of mine who needed to scuba dive for their work. But I could have gone my entire degree and my entire PhD without ever have scuba dived, because it's really not necessary. It really depends on the type of samples you need to analyze. So
what was the focus of your dissertation?
My PhD was focusing on studying the biofilm. So this, for people who don't know, a biofilm is like a layer of microbes that develops on surfaces. For example, if you don't clean your bathroom or the curtains of your bathtub, after a while there's like a slimy thing that starts appearing. That's a biofilm. That's basically organic matter and microbes that start developing. And I was studying a biofilm on plastics in the ocean, at the ocean surface, and trying to see if any of them could biodegrade polyethylene, which is a specific type of plastic.
Did you find anything?
I found that apparently there are some that can survive with plastic as their only food when there's no other food available.
Okay.
So
it's not
in
the
the lab.
choice.
Exactly. So we don't know what would happen if they would be in the ocean, in the natural environment, if they would degrade. And even if they did, like even in my lab experiments, the degradation was really slow. So so even if they can degrade it, even if they can degrade it, it's a very, very slow process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here in the Great Lakes, and you know, we have the Mississippi, and the Missouri River is pretty close too. Microplastics is a really big problem for all of our aquatic life. They're just swallowing all of that microplastic, and now it's in our water, and we're eating it as well.
Yeah, it's a huge problem too. And the main issue even with plastics is not even the physical effect that, you know, abrasive effect that it might have on the stomachs or anything. It's also, it leaches additives. It leaches compounds that are produced during the manufacturing process that are added, you know, to make plastics more durable or malleable or whatever. And some of them have never been tested, like if whether or not they are harmful for humans even. You know, like BPA was one that was used in almost all types of plastics. So it's bisphenol A. And after it was widely used, they found out that it causes infertility. And then they stopped using BPA. Now they use BPP, but they didn't test it either. So only after they started using it, you will find out what. So it's always tricky.
Seems pretty common for plastic manufacturing to not test it until it's already out.
Yes, it is. It is.
Which is really unfortunate.
Yes, especially since it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Like I'm looking at my computer is half made of plastic too.
Right. And I remember watching Happy Feet for the first time. I don't know if you've seen Happy Feet or not. But the penguin with the bottle plastic on his neck.
The guru.
Like,
Yes.
That was the first time I really like thought about, oh my gosh, you know, like that might be a problem. Because normally every day, and like we don't see that kind of stuff in the Great Lakes. I don't live near the ocean, neither does Will. So like I don't see a lot of that. There's no big marine animals to come out of the water and have that around their necks in the area we live in, right? So for the most part, we don't see it. But my when I went down to Florida, I would see some of that stuff every once in a while. Not
it's pretty
penguins,
sad to see. But turtles or that's a good imagery to make people understand how big the problem is, because the more serious problem might be the microplastics, which are invisible. But how do you make people care about that, about something they can't see? And it's an hypothetical, okay, maybe it's in my blood, but I mean, all of it is a problem, of course, but I think it's really funny that Happy Feet taught you that.
It was like one of the first times I really saw it in media.
I mean, Chris watched that movie this week for the first time, so I'm just kidding.
No, my kids did just have us watch it recently because it was on one of the streaming services, and I was like, oh, that'll be a safe movie for the kids to watch. Then I found out there's all these scenes where the penguins are in danger, and the kids are like, oh no, you know. But anyways, it was fine.
I really liked the movie, but after watching it again, I watched it again not so long ago because it's on Netflix now. It's kind of weird. Like there are some scenes that are kind of adult oriented.
Yes.
And as a kid, they just don't even, you know.
It just goes whoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Like for example, there'll be movies that I watched as a kid, and like, oh, there's no problem with that, and then my kids will just see it. There'll be a specific scene in the movie, like, oh my goodness, like, okay, all right, turn it off. We'll watch something else.
That's cool.
So what do you love about the ocean? Or about even just marine life in general? What is it that draws you to it?
It kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it's changed over time. It kind of changed over time now that I really have to think about it. When I started, it was really this, I think the unknown. So I like the unknown. I always liked things I didn't know. And I liked this idea of having something underwater that it's just a mystery. You know, it's this was very interesting to me. It always drove me to read about it and wanting to know more. So that was definitely one of the reasons. I also thought animals were super cute. I still think they're super cute. For sure, that's a reason. But now, because I was in a group that studies microbial oceanography, so it's like microbiology of the ocean, you really realize how the ocean really is the kind of the basis for life on Earth. And how, I mean, it's not only, but everything is connected. All ecosystems are connected, and I don't know how diverse the ocean is. I'm super fascinated now with the deep sea, not only because we don't know a lot about it, but also because of how previously we thought that life there was impossible, but now we are finding out that there's actually a lot of life down there. How do they adapt to such depths? I don't know. Everything fascinates me about the sea, and the more we learn about it, the more I get fascinated. It's just from a scientific point of view. It's really starting really to fascinate me. In the beginning, was more like animals are cute and mystery, but now it's like scientifically, it's really interesting. It's a very interesting system.
What's your favorite animal in the ocean?
Yeah, I want to know that too.
Humpback whale.
Humpback
It's
whale?
like, I'm not sure if it's I always say it's humpback whale because it's this Ocean Girl series. The whale that the lady studied was a humpback whale. So I think it has just a special place in my heart because was kind of the first animal that I got really crazy about. I also love orcas, but I don't know. It's really hard for me to say that. But let's say humpback whale.
I really like
octopuses
orcas until I see the videos of them playing with seals, before they eat them. It's like, oh boy.
But you know what I love about orcas is that they have their own societies.
They really do.
Fascinating, and they have their own languages. So somehow we assume that animals, if an orca from Canada would understand an orca from Iceland, but maybe it's just like
dialects,
humans.
Right?
They can't. Yeah, because they have different languages and different ways of communicating, and that's really fascinating.
Yeah, because they're almost like orca tribes, right?
Yeah.
I also I hate kids movies when they have all of the animals can talk to each other and they're all friendlies, and like it's always the humans that can't understand and they're the evil ones. It's like, no, that fox would eat the rabbit. And they would not be communicating.
That's not scientifically accurate.
My wife's favorite animals in the ocean are the dolphin, and then like there's a jellyfish called Ctenophora. She likes those a lot.
Oh yeah, the Ctenophora, yes. They're actually now quite a plague here in the Adriatic Sea. Yeah, because they're gonna jellyfish, or some jellyfish are estimated to increase with climate change. So there's gonna start being a lot of blooms, and Ctenophora are one of them. They're like the calm jellies.
They're exploding in Japan, right? And they're trying to figure out how to eat them.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't they just go on the peanut butter and jelly? No, I'm just kidding.
Very funny.
Sorry.
So,
had to answer
Chris,
that joke.
There are jellyfish in the I don't know if the Great Lakes, but definitely the lakes around Michigan.
Yeah, there are some. I've never actually seen one.
I had no idea that there was freshwater jellyfish until I found one. I'm like, oh my gosh. They're very small, but yeah, they're there.
Ooh, I just thought of something, well, that we could ask her later. Maybe we could have her settle the debate about Roanoke's orca and what game was that again?
It was it's Fallout something. I don't remember.
No, it's not Fallout. It's Metro.
Oh,
right?
Metro. That's right. It's
there's like all these
concept.
What is it?
There's all these animals in the Metro Exodus series. Metro, whatever. I don't know if Exodus is the series, but Metro series, where they've been kind of morphed by radiation and some kind of fallout from a nuclear weapon. But one of the animals is like this giant catfish that our friend who's does mostly medical stuff, not really animal science, but viruses and biological stuff. He thought it was an orca, and so maybe I'll pull up a picture of it later and see what you think.
Okay. All right.
But that's what he does. Does like science analysis videos of games and stuff, and he usually just like, this doesn't make any sense, so I'm just gonna make this up.
We settle the debate for him.
Yeah.
But the next thing I kind of want to talk about is, do you study like the smaller life of the ocean, not microbes, but like bigger, like krill, shrimp, those kinds of animals?
I have no. So I finished my PhD last year on this subject with microbes, and before that, during my master's, I worked in the same lab where I did my PhD for 1.5 years prior as an assistant, and before that, I did my master's with marine birds.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it were bigger animals, but not. Yeah, they're still marine. I mean, they're marine birds, but they don't live in the ocean. But I never worked with like animals that live in the ocean that are bigger. Only studied them a bit during my undergrad, but that was it.
Yeah, because in preparation for having a discussion with you, I made sure I read up on actual krill and what their impact was. I thought it's so fascinating how
Chris
such
is now an
small
expert
animals,
on everything in the ocean.
I'm not
Everything.
I know you can put electrical cables in the ocean. I know how to do that, but they go across that's how we connect the internet across the giant
that's
there,
internet.
Right? Yes, internet. But they do also have power cables in the ocean, and that's very also interesting to me as well.
Yeah,
but
and then they find the megalodon teeth in them. I watched the movie.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. No, they find shark teeth near them. Apparently, Google lost at least 1 or 2 cables due to a shark biting it, allegedly.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're attracted to the electricity. I know, like octopus will
it's the warmth.
Like
it's the warmth.
They'll steal cameras and stuff because they're attracted to it.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's the warmth of the cables, not the electrical signal, like EMF and EMI and all that stuff. I don't think that plays a factor, unless you're talking about like maybe eels. I don't know.
I mean, sharks pick up electricity, eels. So that's why.
Can I finish my thought, Will?
No.
I found it interesting how the building blocks of nature are these like little animals. You don't think about that every day, right? You think about like these bigger animals. You think about like the wolves or like the deer or like bigger animals like that. Or like the whales or the sharks. Nobody thinks about what would happen if the little animals went away.
Yeah. I mean, so now comes my nerdy microbiology spiel. But basically, so the building blocks of life as it is now are what we call primary producers, which are the organisms that can create energy and food from light. So you have plants, and on the ocean you have phytoplankton, which most of them are microbes. So the big majority of energy and carbon that we consume was once light, in like more or less, was once created by plants using light, which I think is fascinating. And that's why I became really passionate about microbiology, which if you would have told me 10 years ago, microbiology, I want the big stuff, but these are the bases of life. So if something happens to phytoplankton in the ocean, which is might be a problem with climate change, if you have a disturbance in the ecosystem and oxygen production by phytoplankton is disturbed in a very strong way, you might have 30% less oxygen in the atmosphere than what we have now, which we kind of need to breathe. And because they are really the base of sorry, I'm really like going off, but I could talk about this forever because they are really, really the base of life, kind of. And then, of course, besides that, they're the beginning of the food chain as well. For example, you have krill and bigger animals that will eat on them, and then more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, every animal in the food chain is important to maintain the system in the end. But those are the beginners.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is like it seems like any chink in the chain could break the whole chain.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we keep this planet safe for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Here's a good question for you. How many years did you study in total?
Does PhD count as studying or? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what they meant.
So I took during my bachelor was 4 years, my master's degree 2 years, and my PhD 5 years. So, 4, 7, 12.
12 years.
Wow, damn.
Post.
I'm not sure I ever calculated that.
That's after you got out of. I don't know we have high school over here. I don't know what your guys is.
We have high. Yeah, at high school? 18. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we usually start university at 18, more or less.
Yeah, same here.
Here's another question I saw earlier. What does the group think about universities offering marine degrees even when the location is nowhere near the sea and students not have access to the sea?
Yeah, that was what happened in Austria where I live. It's like that. It really depends on because, for example, I can just give you the example of the university where I did my PhD in Vienna. They do offer a course in marine biology or marine ecology, which is mostly taught by the professors in my group. Mm-hmm. And you go on field trips. So basically, for example, because I mean, we are in a landlocked country, but Austria is a small country. So in a 5-hour drive, you're in Croatia and you can go to the sea there.
Mhm.
So what they do is they do these road trips for the practical courses where you can still go to the sea and learn sampling on all those stuff and all those things. But a lot of marine biology is very theoretical too. There's a lot of statistics involved. There's a lot of theory and other things that you can learn without being next to the sea. Of course, the methodology is very important and actually knowing how to collect samples and all that. But there's still a big chunk of doing science that is in the lab. And I mean, the majority of science is actually in the lab and at the computer doing data analysis, writing papers and all those things. And you can do that from anywhere. You just need to have maybe like a chunk of time, like a couple of weeks allocated per year to go somewhere else. The issue is that if most of these times the student will have to pay. And I know in Portugal, a lot of colleagues of mine sometimes couldn't go on field trips because they didn't have money to pay for them. So this can be a problem, but I don't know. With the system, the way it is now, I don't know how you could overcome that, because in Portugal, we even have the ocean here, but sometimes we wanted to go to other field stations that were further from here, and we still needed to travel. But that unfortunately is not something that I think is very easily solvable. And it's the same whether you're landlocked or not landlocked.
So the next question I have then is, what's your favorite place to go explore the ocean at?
Oh, that's difficult. I don't know, because the one I go the most, definitely Portugal, but I know it so well that I would rather go somewhere new.
That's fair. Okay.
But let me think. I was now in Sardinia, and it was absolutely incredible. In the south, and it's an Italian island in the Mediterranean. I go a lot to Croatia. Because it's the closest to Austria, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite, because unfortunately, there's not much life there. Like cruise tourism and overfishing has completely destroyed the bottom of the Adriatic Sea. So you have crystal clear waters. Of course, you have some life, but seagrass meadows and all those ecosystems are in huge decline. So there's areas where you don't see anything, like sea cucumbers and a lot of sea urchins, big ones. But so I go there a lot because it's closer, but it's not necessarily my favorite place. I don't have one, because all the places I've gone to, I would just like to go somewhere. My favorite place I've ever been was in Hawaii, I think. That was like unbelievable.
Was it very beautiful out there then?
It's turtles everywhere, like the colors. It was the first time I was ever at a coral reef. Yeah. It was the first time I was ever in a coral reef. So that was quite the experience. That was really, really cool.
Very cool.
I was also recently in the UK in diving in kelp forests with seals. I was actually for one of my Subnautica videos, because I'm making this series called Subnautica on Earth, where I kind of compare the ecosystems on Earth with the ones in Subnautica. And there's one where I went to kelp forests, and I went diving with in an area where there's a huge colony of gray seals, and I didn't know what to expect, but they are incredible. They are so curious. They touch you, they play with you, they like bump against your face, they play. It's really funny to see them interact with other divers. So they like poke them from the back. I would occasionally feel like something, and I would look back and nothing was there. I was like, it's just a rock or some algae or whatever. And then I saw that I saw them with the other divers, and they would poke them and then just like swim away.
And giggling.
Like, are they doing this on purpose? Do they know? Like, it was so cool. It was an unbelievable experience.
I was gonna say, do you prefer snorkeling or scuba diving? Which one do you like more?
If I could snorkel everywhere, I would rather snorkel. But scuba diving for filming, it's really not possible because I would love to know how to apnea dive, so to be longer underwater. I would love to be able to do that, so I could film also while I'm snorkeling. But scuba diving just gives you more freedom. But I would love to not have to put on all the stuff and all that thing. But I like snorkeling more, but you can do more while scuba diving, see more, and yeah.
I was just gonna say, I've never been scuba diving, but did conquer my fear of the open water one time. I was in Jamaica and went snorkeling with my wife because it was one of her like bucket list items. So it was really pretty out there, but most of the coral reef out there is dying. They're trying to restart it. There are some places where it's restarting. They won't let you dive or scuba out there because it's mostly tourism, right? So they want to keep that part that they're trying to rebuild away from tourism, which I totally understand. I wouldn't want to be near that either because I don't want to accidentally disrupt it. But it's pretty cool to see the bottom of the ocean from the clear waters near Jamaica. And I was terrified the whole time. I'm not going to lie.
I was actually going to say that every time someone tells me they're afraid of the ocean, one of my recommendations is to go snorkeling, because a lot of the fear sometimes is because you don't see what's underneath. So you're like afraid of what could be there. And when you're snorkeling, you actually see what's underneath.
And it's even scarier.
It is. And apparently for you, that didn't work.
Well, I did look up beforehand that there's been, I think, a total of like maybe less than 10 shark attacks in 200 years in Jamaica in the area we dove. So like it's a very low chance of having any type of, maybe it was 2. It was a very low number. And apparently they just don't like that area because it's shallow. Yeah.
And it's interesting too with sharks is that, for example, most people who dive actively with sharks, divers, there's rarely shark attacks to divers, even though they are the ones who are, you know, that statistically it would the more higher probability of being attacked because they actively seek sharks. But they don't, because we are weird for them. Like we are something weird that they don't. I don't think they are actively searching. You know,
no, I don't think we taste very good.
Yeah, we probably don't taste very good either. Or smell, like with a neoprene, you know, that must be a terrible, terrible smell.
Have you ever had any close calls while you've been in the water?
No, I've never been. I've never seen a shark underwater, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, any marine animals. I mean, it wasn't a shark that took down Steve Irwin. It was.
That's also true. No, I like nothing dangerous, but I was quite scared once. It wasn't dangerous. I was just a bit freaked out. I was snorkeling. It was during my master thesis. For my master thesis, I stayed 2 months in an island in the Atlantic Ocean. It's a Portuguese island, but it has only one house, like no internet. It was a wild experience, but it had a bay. And marine life was very beautiful because it was in a marine protected area. And I used to go snorkeling a lot during my breaks. And I decided to go a bit more outside. I felt super confident and I was just going outside. And do you know what a triggerfish is?
No, I don't. I'll have to look that one up real quick.
Okay. Apparently, I found out the other day that there's many different, let me see, triggerfish. If you write triggerfish on Wikipedia, the one I saw is not the beautiful, colorful one. It's one that's more like brown with dots. I'm just checking here now. The first one. Yeah, the third one, actually, I think.
Hold on a second. This one?
Yeah, exactly. So I was swimming, and I saw a couple of them. Like, they are okay big, but they're not gigantic. But they are okay big, and they swim in big schools. So many of them. And I was fascinated. Oh, so cool. And then I started seeing them approaching me. Like they were far away. And suddenly I saw them coming in my direction. And I have a bit these crazy eyes. And I started getting a bit scared. And maybe it's just a coincidence. I started swimming back to the bay. And I continued snorkeling inside the bay. And suddenly I was surrounded by these triggerfish. They were all looking at me and they were like really close, like really, at least this is how I remember it. It was not so, but I remember them like being like around my face everywhere. And I never swam so fast. I swam directly to shore and I was really scared because there were a lot of them. They have really strong teeth. And they are known to bite. So these are one of the easiest fish to catch because they bite everything. Yeah. And I was really scared. Even if they would have bitten me, they wouldn't have killed me. It's not like they're not piranhas or anything, but I still didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, I see these teeth right here. My goodness. Oh, we got somebody who actually said that they got bit by a triggerfish in the chat here.
Oh, really?
It says that they were bitten by a
Yeah.
triggerfish. They are really territorial, protecting their eggs. And then somebody else wanted to point out that we must focus on saving all sea marine species. If several species went extinct, would it cause the butterfly effect on a major scale? Is there any species that you know of that would literally just disrupt the food chain to the extent that they're talking about?
Let me think. As by species, maybe lanternfish.
Really?
So I think they are the highest biomass of fish in the world. So I think it's lanternfish. If I'm not
the angler.
mistaken.
Is it angler or lantern or something else?
No, it's like some tiny fish.
Oh, I see it. Hold on, I've got it right here.
I'm not. Is it the lanternfish? Wait, there's
this one.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Highest.
Because I was thinking of the anglerfish. Then I see it up here. This right here.
The weird mesopelagic fish. I think it's the land. I'm not, but it's one of these mesopelagic fishes. They're very small, and I think it's the lanternfish, but don't hold me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know. So I'm just throwing it out there. I have no clue if this would be the worst to disappear, but because they are probably source of food for so many, and there's many species, no? I see here. I know. Small mesopelagic fish. It's a family even. Lanternfish. Yeah. My fish knowledge is pretty bad, like in terms of marine biology wise, because I never studied fish. I know like their names and all that, but like some basics. But because they are the basic food for a lot of higher fish predators, I would assume they could be, but they could create a lot of problems.
This might be more in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, do you want to tackle why like that's sort of a fallacy?
A what?
A fallacy. So the phytoplankton, that's not just one species. That's a
yes. The phytoplankton is not just.
If you took out, that would be like an entire trophic level.
Yes.
So yes, that would collapse everything.
Well, yeah.
That's like millions of species actually. Yes. If plankton disappeared, we're all pretty screwed.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, there's lots of keystone species, and there's starting to. This is actually part of my research, but. Keystone interactions where you have multiple species when they're in a group together, they form like a keystone interaction. So if you break apart those interactions, they actually will collapse the food web. Even though like maybe if it's like an ant by itself was to go extinct in the field, it wouldn't necessarily have an effect. But if like an ant and a tree hopper were interacting and if you broke apart that interaction, that would actually collapse the ecosystem.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yes.
The cooperation between them kind of a deal or what?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a good example of that too is like the corals and zooxanthellae. You just need this interaction. Zooxanthellae is, for the chat, is like so corals have a symbiotic dinoflagellate called zooxanthellae living within them that provides food to the coral. So the coral by itself cannot survive very long without starving. And that's why climate change is bad for corals, because for some reason, when the water is warmer, the zooxanthellae leave the coral, and the coral starves after a while. And this interaction is crucial for the entire ecosystem, for example.
Yeah, so that would be a keystone interaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like the relationship between bees and flowers, right? They need each other.
Or insects in general are super important. Like, people really underestimate the importance of like reptiles and amphibians and insects in our ecosystems. Like if those were to disappear, we would be gone. Like our food chain would be completely, like plant-wise, agriculture-wise, like the soil, everything. It would be completely.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm an entomologist by trade, and basically like just here, something I've noticed really recently, like the last 7 years or so, is during the summer, the lights used to be swarmed with insects. And now you see nothing. Yeah. It's like, where did all those insects go?
Yeah. Which people think is cool. but it's not.
No,
Or
it's
from an
terrible.
ecosystem point of view. No.
Say that you go to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, they're still there.
Yeah.
There's so many bugs in the Upper Peninsula.
I think it's the mayfly. I might be getting this wrong, but it's a really big deal in Missouri, which is where I was from. And
mayflies are a big deal here too. Will you just don't see them? I see them.
Yeah,
What
much
is it?
bigger
What's
deal
the
there.
name? What's the name?
Mayfly.
June bugs, mayflies are all the
No,
same.
totally
Not
different
June
thing.
bugs.
June bug's something else. Anyway, so back to mayfly. They lay their eggs on the surface of the water, and they do it at night under the full moon. And they need that reflection to actually see where to lay their eggs. And because under our artificial lights and also under the moon, asphalt has the same reflective properties. So they lay all their eggs on the road. Yeah, there you go.
The fish flies. That's what I was thinking of.
And then they don't. They die. They cannot survive.
They basically just lay eggs and die.
Yep. So they have this big bloom during the summer, and they lay all these eggs on the road, and now their population is just rapidly declining.
Oh wow.
We still get. My workplace actually sits on the edge of the lake, and they fill the entire place up to the point where they've actually filled up an electrical transformer full of them one time. And actually tripped the transformer offline. That has happened once. They're notorious for being electrical issues. That doesn't cause any like major catastrophes. It's just we got to get cleaned up, put the transformer back online.
I mean, the quickest way to save these guys is to change your light bulbs. We have light bulbs that the insects can't see. So if we would just do that in the cities and also lower the lights so they're not reflecting into the atmosphere as much, that would save them and basically most insects.
But these literally will pile up on anything warm. So like electrical stuff, they love electrical stuff. They land all over it. They like lights. They fill up entire doorways. These things are everywhere. I'll have to send you a picture sometime, Will.
Can I also answer this one with wolves? Unless you want to do it, Chris, because you probably know the wolf example. So the wolves in Yellowstone, you know what I'm talking about, Chris?
You go ahead, Will.
All right, so wolves went extinct in Yellowstone National Park here in the U.S. And basically the deer overpopulated. They ate everything. It destroyed the ecosystem. And it actually affected the rivers. It affected the elk population. Beavers disappeared. Foxes disappeared. All kinds of stuff. So they actually reintroduced them recently. I think in the 70s they started it. And just after a couple of generations of the wolves, they forced the deer back into the woods. They declined that population. And because the deer weren't grazing on the the shrubbery around the rivers and such, they actually started to meander more. So they weren't running as fast. It allowed for the fish to come back. It allowed for the beavers to come back. All the foxes came back. So the biodiversity exploded in Yellowstone just from adding back wolves. So yeah.
That's a good example of what happens with sharks as well. Why, if you take sharks away, why that's a very worrying development of what's happening in the ocean is sharks are declining at an extremely dangerous rate because they are one of the main top predators in the ocean. And if their populations go down to a level to such low numbers that they cannot control their prey anymore, some of the fish will just overgrow, and then it's a cascade event, and it will affect the entire ecosystem, and it can really destroy the entire ecosystem just by removing a trophic level, or like sharks in this case, or tuna. So every time I tell people what not to eat, don't eat tuna. Don't eat tuna or shrimp, unfortunately, because shrimp is pretty good.
I love shrimp.
Shrimp is
I refuse.
Depends where it comes from, though.
If it's shrimp or the world ending, I'm choosing shrimp.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I do have one behind me, Will. Don't eat that one. The next question I have for you, then, so we've kind of gone full circle on the chain of life here. How well does Subnautica replicate what's going on in the oceans when you interact with stuff in Subnautica? How do you feel about that ecosystem?
So the animals are too mean, like compared to the ocean.
That was
like
going to be my
Subnautica,
first question.
Yeah, they're just like attacking you. Like that doesn't happen in the real ocean. You're not in the ocean and you pass by even sharks that are maybe some of the most aggressive animals towards humans. Like the chances that you pass by one and it will attack you is very, very low. Subnautica, like everything is out to get you.
Have you played any games that do reflect real life more realistically?
I'm now playing Beyond Blue. It's I think it's like is it National Geographic or BBC? I'm not sure, but it's supposed to replicate the ocean completely. So I play the role of a marine biologist who is exploring the world's ocean. So it's really
Inception, marine biologist playing the role as a marine biologist.
This is the one.
Yes, that's it. Okay. And it's real animals, and like the way they behave and everything is pretty similar to what really happens on Earth. They really try to do it accurately. So I don't think you can go better than that in terms of accuracy.
And then I have to say a lot of games portray animals as if they are aggressive towards humans or whatever your main character in the game is. Like, for example, there's a game, I like the game's Metroid, like it's got like floating jellies in space. But in the original version of Metroid 2, the animals behaved as if you weren't even there, which I thought was, even though it's mostly due to the fact that they couldn't really make the animals aggressive on an 8-bit Game Boy. But when they remade the game on the 3DS, they made all the animals aggressive. And I was like, wow, that's a huge change from the original game. It's like none of the animals they just kind of went on their daily, whatever their loop was, and avoided you. And then in the new one, it's like everything's coming out to kill you. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is not accurate.
It does add some extra intensity to the game, I'd say. I mean, if Subnautica would be just, I mean, if there were no I forgot the word completely.
Predators.
Or predators attacking you. The vibe of the game would be completely different immediately because the tension is maintained by having those animals attacking you.
Should we dive into the Meg too? I know you did a reaction video on the Meg.
Oh my god, people get so angry because I said that the Meg probably does not exist. Why do people want the Meg to exist? I don't understand.
I don't know.
I would never want the Meg to. Let me rephrase that. I wouldn't want it to exist for me. If it exists out there somewhere, fine. But I don't want to be anywhere near it. Like I think it'd swallow you whole.
Yes, and I mean, yeah, but it's. I had no idea that people had such strong feelings about the existence of the megalodon. Was very interesting finding for me.
Now, was that probably one of the biggest growths on your channels when you covered the Meg, or was it a different video? When did you think you gained your audience the most?
I got a huge. Wait a second. I think I heard my doorbell. Sorry, guys. Can I just check if there's my parents forgot their key? I'm sorry. I'll be back in 1 second.
How's it going, Chris?
Going pretty good, Will.
What's your favorite marine animal?
Mine is.
Or do you have one?
My mom's is the penguin, and Malin likes dolphins and like the jellies.
Speaking of penguins, if you want to, so when you think of penguin, you always think of penguins in the snow. Look up penguins in New Zealand. They have them going up rivers and stuff.
I know. Yeah.
It still blows my mind. Like it does not seem right. Like it's hard for me to compute.
It's completely different layer of like I don't know if it's feathers on their outer whatever, but okay, she's back. I had you muted just in case. I had you muted just in case. I didn't know if anybody's gonna be talking in the background, but all right, you're back. No intruders.
Yes, I'm back.
Right?
Sorry, no intruders.
Turn into a completely different kind of podcast.
No. So we were talking about my channel exploded with the first really viral video I had was a Finding Nemo reaction.
Finding Nemo?
Okay.
Yes, and it happened 1.5 years after I had posted it.
Because I'm looking at your most popular ones here, and like that one's at almost 200,000 views. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so this one was the first one that out of nowhere just started. Because until then, like my videos had 4,000 maximum, and that was a good video. And suddenly Finding Nemo just went up and up and up. And then my Finding Dory went up as well a bit. And after that, the Meg started going up. But after like 2 months of my Finding Nemo exploding, then the Meg started exploding. Yeah.
That was how I found your channel originally, was the Meg, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun one to make. I had no idea that it had such a loyal following because there are some people who love that movie. I hadn't heard about it. I just I wanted to react to a movie, and I wrote like ocean movies I think on Google, and this was one of the first ones that appeared, and I had it on Netflix, so it was perfect. And it was Jason Statham, and I kind of think he's cool. I don't know, his action movies are fun, and I thought could be a good reaction. So it worked for my channel. So I was not expecting it to go so well.
And I forgot you did Abzu too. That's a cool
Yeah,
game. It's a pretty game.
So beautiful. Yes, I'm doing Journey now from the same creators, I think, on my new channel.
Yeah, I think they had 3 games. It used to be like a 3-pack on the PS3 at one point in time. It had like Journey, Abzu, and something. I think they were all 3 together. I could be wrong, but there was at least 2 games, and one of them was Journey on the PS3 way back when. I think it was like late 2000s, before 2010. I think I don't remember exactly, but I remember seeing these games on the PlayStation Store consistently doing well. So they were pretty cool games.
Yeah, they're very chill, like meditative. Very cool.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're playing a game. You feel like it's an experience.
Yes, it's an experience. Exactly.
That's cool.
And then the next question is there any videos you've put out that you felt should have done better and didn't? Like the video you would like your audience to watch, but they didn't really watch it?
In my earlier videos, because, but I mean, they're terrible now. Like when I look at them now, they're pretty terrible. But I put so much effort in some of them, especially the more sciencey ones. But no one cared about my science videos. They just wanted to just watch my vlogs, and even now they have really low views. But for example, wait, where's like this one, Who Rules the World? I also didn't know how to make thumbnails. It's like up a bit. I think a bit more. No, where is it? No, then more down. Where is it? I just saw it. Oh, there. It's this one. Who rules the oceans and the world? I forgot I put this title too. Who rules the oceans and the world?
Where am I?
And
I'm not seeing. Oh, there it is. I see it now.
Yes. What a horrible thumbnail too. But it's about like I put so much work into that video. It's about. Oh no, I was so overacting too in the beginning. Like I thought I needed to do all these movements and stuff.
Yeah. Because when you're talking to somebody in real life, you use your hands to talk, right? But then when you do it on camera, it's like, uh-oh.
I actually move a lot when in real life too, but I can't watch these videos without feeling uncomfortable.
All right, I'll leave this video for you.
But I made a lot of animations for this video, like very simple animation. So it was a lot of work, and it's about how bacteria are important for what we kind of talked about before, like for the world and everything. And I wanted people at the time really wanted people to watch it. Right now, more recent videos, maybe I made a video on my Subnautica on Earth videos. Maybe I really like them. I actually am pretty proud. Not that one, but the grassy plateaus with the octopus and all those. I really, you passed it. So it's the
right there. I see it. Sorry.
Above that one, on top of that one.
Oh,
and
this
on top.
one. Okay.
That one has quite a lot of views actually. The one with the seal, I think. So that's pretty cool. But these, I made a stupid beginning for this one, but but like I don't know. I really like editing these videos, so it's a lot of fun for me, and I'm kind of proud of them. And I would like people to watch them.
Is filmmaking something that really interests you then?
Yeah, I like editing a lot, but I am actually now freelancing for video editing and for making videos in general for science communication. I really like it. But I realized that I really like doing what I want to do. So if someone tells me what I have to do, like the kind of passion goes away, because what I like is really the creativity of having my own idea and putting together what I envision and then making that happen. So I don't know if I would really like to go beyond like making my own videos to, I don't know, something more complex. I don't know. But I always liked documentaries. It was always a dream in the back of my mind too, like wildlife documentaries. And when I had to decide on a master's degree, I looked into a couple of masters in the UK for wildlife documentary, but it was very expensive because I think in the UK the system is a bit like in the US, so you have to pay a lot for college. I think not as much, But in Portugal, like I paid, almost nothing. I paid 700 euros a year for which is maybe $500 American dollars.
That's like our books.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's really a huge difference. So I thought, okay, I'll just, I'll just stay here and don't pay. But it was something always in the back of my mind.
Did you ever get approached by the developers of Subnautica? Did they ever watch your videos or reach out? No.
I don't know if they've watched my videos. I don't know.
Because a lot of times these devs, even if they're big devs, if they see a video, like somebody who's constantly playing the games, they'll reach out and say, hey, thanks for playing our game or something. I just didn't know if they had ever done that.
No, I mean, no, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
So this is completely unrelated, but when you're snorkeling or scuba diving, have you ever heard like a whale's call?
I actually think I have. I cannot be sure because in Hawaii, you can you would hear. It's not like these sounds you would imagine, like ooh, that you hear. But it was a click, weird clicks, and we are almost sure they are whales because they were very close to the shore, and we were reading, and you can hear their vocalizations from very, very far. So
how can you be sure it wasn't a mermaid?
I can't. You cannot prove a negative.
Yeah, exactly. I watched that on Animal Planet. They had this whole documentary on these mermaids.
Oh no, was it like mermaids exist?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then some photoshopped photo
ridiculous.
Of some.
They never in the documentary, like it's a mockumentary, so they had like this series of like fake documentaries that they made, but they never once said it was. So like there has to be a generation of kids that think that's real.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I would have probably thought.
Well, they even have like NOAA scientists like interview for it and stuff. It's like, come on.
Oh my God, come on. They didn't even put a disclaimer in the end, like saying this is not real.
No, at least not the first couple episodes.
Crazy.
They might have got some like pushback after the first couple, but the first couple definitely didn't have it.
What's your favorite weird or out there theory about the ocean?
Mine?
Yeah. Are there any theories that you're like, man, this is interesting, even though there's no way it's real?
Well, I like the idea of Atlantis still existing, but I know it doesn't. But there are some people who do. Like, there's people who believe in everything. You can find people for believing in everything. So there's people who theorize that Atlantis has some advanced technology that can like hide themselves from the sonars, and that's why we haven't found them yet. And that's kind of cool. I mean, I don't think that's the case, but I like that idea.
No, Atlantis beamed themselves up to Mars, and they're living there away from us right now.
Yeah.
They figured out space travel years before we did. Here's a good question. What's something about the ocean that scares you?
Me? I'm not sure. I've never was swimming in the open ocean. So like really open ocean in which I don't see the coast. I would like to know if that would scare me. I don't know because I've never experienced that. But I could imagine that if you see, because in that case you really don't see, like it's a big nothingness above you and below you. I could imagine that being kind of like intimidating.
Especially at night. If it was nighttime.
Oh, at night. I was on a research expedition once in the Pacific, and we had to launch our sampling bottles at night, and we had a huge spotlight on the place where we were collecting the sample, and this was right in the middle of the Pacific, so there was no land around, and it's a area where there's not much food. But so what happens is little animals are attracted to light. So you had like the krill, and then you would have a bit bigger animals coming, like squids, then bigger squids, and suddenly there were sharks, like out of nowhere, coming, eating everything that was in the light. So if you have a little bit of light at night in a place where like that's dangerous. That can be dangerous. Because that's an area without food. So if there's a bit of food.
Yeah.
How about you, Will? What scares you about the ocean?
I think the scariest thing for me, like, I mean, obviously, like what you just said, that sounds terrifying. But just stepping on something and that, like, when you're by a coral reef or something and just having no idea that's there, like a conch shell or something, it would be terrible. And just getting killed by like a little itty bitty creature.
For me, it's
these little fishies. Sorry. Yeah.
For me, it's just like anything that moves in like what I would consider non-natural way. Wait,
everything.
Yeah, exactly. No, like whenever I see like a giant squid, it's like, that is freaky. You know, if I was ever in the water and there was a squid beneath me or above me, I think I would be like terrified.
Yeah, like if I were to see a giant squid, I would be terrified too. But the thing is, when I'm in the ocean, I don't say I'm not afraid of it because I don't think I'm gonna see one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
But of course, if suddenly a giant squid would appear in front of me, I'm pretty sure I would be terrified. But they never come to the surface. Mm-hmm. So
Unless
don't think
dead
about that.
After what was that? The giant tsunami over Japan. I can never remember the name of it. That brought a lot of like marine life above the surface that normally we'd never see. You know what I'm talking about?
Dead one.
Yeah, lots of dead things, nothing really alive.
I think the Kraken is definitely terrifying.
Yeah, the Megalodon, which definitely still exists. It doesn't, guys. It doesn't definitely.
The Man of War is a real thing, right? That's actually just a giant. Yeah. That I didn't realize was real.
Damn, those things, though, like the man of it's the Portuguese Man of War. Mm-hmm. It's scary because like their tentacles can be 30 meters. So you might see their body far away and their tentacles might be here. That's scary because those are the invisible killers, kind of, or the box jellyfish in Australia. They were real.
Have you ever seen one?
I have.
You
Dead
have seen
in
a
the
Man
beach. Yes, and yeah.
Man, that's like close to home for you, huh?
Yeah, I think these are kind of scary. Jellyfish in general scary just because they're like blobs and then like with these stinging tentacles that can kill you.
I love jellyfish. I love seeing them if I know they are not
away from you,
deadly.
But how big can these things get? Because I've never seen one up close.
So like the pneumatopher, which is the body, is like 20 centimeters. So the size of my hand, the one I saw at least, a bit bigger maybe, like 2 hands, 1.5 hands. And then the tentacles can be 30 meters. I don't know how much that is in feet, but like that's very long. Yeah, that's very long. But what I was going when I was in Australia, they have the box jellyfish, which is the most venomous animal in the world, and it's this size. And they at the beach during this jellyfish season. During the jellyfish season, they close the beaches, but even afterwards, they have the lifeguards every half an hour going with the net to see if there's any jellyfish on the beach.
Oh my goodness.
Because you just don't see them, and you don't see people diving there either. People go in and they have the like water by the waist, and they just like very quickly vertically dive down and then walk very carefully to see if there are no jellyfish on the way. Yeah, it was an interesting experience.
Wait, what? They're actually 3 different animals living as one?
Oh, yeah. The Portuguese Man of War is a colonial organism.
Really?
So, yeah.
I didn't know
It's not
that.
a jellyfish. It's related, but it's not the same as a normal jellyfish. Is one animal. So, the Portuguese Man of War, the little bag structure is called pneumatopher, is one animal. Then you have different animals on the tentacles. So it does many animals create one tentacle. And there's 2 different types of tentacles. There's I'm not even sure you'd call them tentacles. I don't know. But there's the reproductive the reproductive tentacles and I think the feeding tentacles, and they are all composed of different animals. It's very it's interesting, and they all like live together and create this one colonial organism.
I would never have known that until this person commented that in the chat.
So is it different species, or is it just different forms of the same species?
It's different forms of the same species. So the species is Portuguese man-of-war, and it's different forms of the same species.
Do they have any idea how the cells differentiate? Like, how does some cells become the top versus reproductive versus feeding?
I don't know. No.
Okay.
I don't know actually how Portuguese man-of-war reproduce. I don't know if they create, because, for instance, the jellyfish, they have medusa. They have these different life stages in which you have like the polyp, which is attached to the ground, and it releases the male and female gametes, and then they unite in the ocean and create little medusas that grow, and this is the whole cycle. I don't know how it is with Portuguese man-of-war actually. Maybe if it's like that or not, I'm not sure. I don't know.
We got another question in the chat for you. It says, "Hey Maria, have you read the books by Peter Watts? He's a Canadian marine biologist who became a famous hard science fiction writer."
No, I haven't. But I'm gonna, because I like science fiction, so I'm gonna. Peter Watts, cool. Okay, I have not.
I've only read a few science fiction water-related books, and I tend to avoid them just because it just makes my fear just grow. It's like watching Jaws. Like, okay, I'm not going to the ocean this year.
So you should. I was gonna say I would suggest one called The Swarm, by Frank. He's a German writer. Frank Schitzig is his name. Frank Schitzig, and it's it's an incredible book, and it's what's scary about it is that he took 5 years to research the science behind the book to make it as possible to happen as it is possible. Mm-hmm. So like when you're reading, I cannot say without spoiling anything, but it's really cool. I love this book. It's huge, but it's really cool, but it's also very scary. So if you don't want to be more afraid of the ocean, maybe.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things and a lot of the people and a lot of the institutions he talks about in this book really exist. Like a lot of the scientists, the research, all that really exists.
So it's like, was it Michael Crichton used to do a lot of his own research for his books, kind of like that, do a lot of research and then put it into a book form with some fictionalized portions?
No, this is mostly fiction with some
hints of actual facts.
Real,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's not like the Meg where it's like completely
no.
fictional.
I mean, it's still completely fictional, but it has the science they explain when they are trying to figure out what's happening is real. Okay. What is happening is not real, but the science they use to explain it is real, and that's quite interesting because you also I learned a lot from that book as well.
Cool. Somebody said it was a great read. Thank you for this. Oh, sounds like a great read. Thank you for the suggestion. There you go.
You're welcome. So, Chris, it's a big boy, though, I must say. It's a big
if you
boy.
want like a quick introduction to the ocean without actually have to be in the ocean, just go to Missouri because it used to be under a shallow sea. So you can go and find all the fossils. They can't hurt you.
If I ever go diving or snorkeling again, I'm going to the Gulf of Mexico to get some megalodon teeth. That'll be my next one. If I ever go
with the alligators down there, man.
I have been. So it's funny. I'm not afraid of alligators.
Wow, what? Oh man.
I have been within about 5 feet of alligators before. My grandfather had a place still has a place down in Florida, actually. Still kicking at 80 something odd years old now, so that's cool. But we'd go on these little boat tours in his boat he had down in Florida, and the gators would get so close to us you could see their teeth. And it was fascinating watching them. And I'm just not afraid of them because I have nostalgia from
They're not very aggressive. They're not like crocodiles. So
no, they just kind of hang out and sunbathe a lot.
Saltwater crocodiles. That's for me the scariest animal in the ocean. Like in Australia. In Australia, everything happens somehow. Like all these animals live there. But there was a beach where a friend of mine was working. Her institute was just next to the beach. And everywhere on the beach said, beware of walking close to the edge of the water because the crocodiles wait at the edge, like at the beach for animals to cross, and then they just jump out of the water and run after them to catch
they're
them.
fast.
Yeah.
And they are fast, and I cannot imagine and they are huge, like saltwater crocodiles. But good thing they only live in that part of Australia, and that's it.
Yeah, they're one of the few animals that still hunt people, like purposely. So them, polar bears, and tigers, yeah, they will purposely eat people. Most of the time, it's just accidental, or they're starving or something. But they will actually eat for just fun, I guess.
Probably the coolest thing that ever happened to me was we were in the boat, and there's all these alligators like sunbathing down on the shore near us, and one of them jumped in the water, just like a giant splash. It was not graceful.
They're like big. They're like the descendants of dinosaurs, like even their eyes. If I imagine a dinosaur eye, I imagine it like a crocodile eye.
For sure. Let's see here. Subnautica is like Australia. Everything is out to kill you.
It's a good comparison. Yeah, I would love to go to the Great Barrier Reef, though. So
the Swarm is like the Da Vinci Code, but for marine biologists.
Exactly, yeah. And it's sci-fi, exactly. But it's totally sci-fi, too.
So just to clarify this, so the ocean that used to be there is about 200 million years ago, and that's the only fossil you'll find in Missouri is actually marine, but they're usually pretty small. So you'll find some smaller fish. You'll find like lots of coral reef like animals, but not like sharks or anything. There's only been one dinosaur found in Missouri, and it's in the Boot Heel, and it's because it's like a completely different geographical deposit. So they actually like. That area is much younger than the rest of Missouri. So, yeah.
Interesting.
All right. I want to open this up now. We'll double click me on there. I want to open this up for you, though. What other things are interesting to you aside from the ocean and marine life?
Many things came to my mind. I love reading. I love fantasy. Sci-fi. I like reading everything. Except romances. I mean, depends, but I like fantasy a lot. I love sci-fi. That's maybe my second hobby after YouTube. I love dancing. I'm not good at it. I just really like it. I used to be dancing in a crew before COVID happened, and I like movies. I know those. I love hanging. I don't know, this very normal things. Watching some Netflix. But yeah, I think that's kind of being with friends.
You're big into like all different kinds of media
hiking.
And literature, and then so also exploring on land. Okay.
Yes. I really like. So I don't like being at home much. So I like doing things outside, going hiking, being with friends outside. Yeah. And when I'm inside, I'm reading or watching movies, probably.
I totally understand. Do you have any instrument, like guitars, piano, anything like that?
Yeah, I learned the piano for 8 years when I was younger, and I have a piano here at my parents' place that I only play when I come here. So I kind of forgot a lot of it, but I can still read music and I can still play. But for example, I cannot create my own music, unfortunately. I really lost a lot of music intuition by not practicing during many years. But I really like music too. But yeah.
The reason why I asked that is just because I've met a lot of people in like science fields, and the bulk of them had some musical background at some point in their lives.
Which is super interesting, isn't it? Like there seems to be, I saw a video once which connected the same part of your brain that is activated when you learn music is the same for logical thinking, for a certain way of thinking. So maybe people who are attracted to some certain way of thinking that is required in science and it was developed while learning an instrument or something. I don't know. I have just but it was super interesting. That is very true of the people I know as well. My dad included, because he's also in a scientific field.
Very cool. Let's see here. Somebody said they learned cave diving in Mexico this summer, and they'd see fossils of extinct sea creatures.
I'm so jealous of this person. The giant sloths.
Turtles, giant sloths. Those are pretty neat. Really cool to see his memories from a different age. And then, were you ever interested in marine archaeology?
Yes, theoretically. But I don't know much about it. But yeah, that's something I definitely read about. I am terrified of cave diving. I don't think
Oh
it's
yeah.
something I'll ever. Yes, I'm not extremely claustrophobic, but I'm a bit. So I'm cave diving really scares me more than deep diving, for example. I would more easily deep dive than cave dive for sure.
Because you might find the
Okay.
Meg in the cave. No, I'm just kidding. Just living off divers going down.
Just
in the cave.
waiting.
Yeah.
With the mouth open at the end of the
Yeah,
cave.
exactly.
That's not a cave. That's teeth.
It's a great movie idea.
Yeah, there you go. I have seen a movie where they got lost in caves and there was sharks that knew a way in from another side. It was very, very scary for me.
Oh, oof.
I'm not scared of a lot of things, but the ocean is one of those things. It's like if you get terrified in the bottom of the ocean, like, nope, I'm out.
They can't hear you scream, Chris.
Like space, except underwater, so they really can't hear you scream.
Oh, I watched a horror movie in caves, and because I have a bit of fear of small closed spaces, this it was damn it, it was about a team of girls who were going cave exploration, and there were like these humanoid forms inside the caves that were
that the one
slowly
that-
eating them.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the one that Roanoke covered forever ago?
Mm-hmm.
What movie is
Descent.
that?
This Descent, yeah. This movie, it was probably one of the worst horror movies I watched because the combination of I was tense the entire time.
There's a sequel.
I always hate those movies because they speed up evolution so fast. It's like, no, it's just would not be like
not scientifically
100
accurate.
years. It would take so much longer than that.
There was a sequel to this movie.
Yeah,
There was
100
a
years
Descent
is not...
too.
Oh no.
Yeah, the second one is
I'm not
is
watching
really
that.
bad.
Okay.
And also, they can see suddenly in it, so they completely ruins the first movie.
In one generation, they their genes just
Also, they can leave the cave, so it's like, why can't they see? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, that was Roanoke's comment. Leave the cave.
Yeah.
Should we pull up the famous orca?
Sure.
All right. What is that thing called? Do you know what it's called in Metro? I think it's catfish. It's catfish.
I have no idea what it's called.
Now I can see the catfish features after studying it a little more. After Roanoke kept having his problem with it, but I'm gonna pull up a good picture so you can actually see a decent amount of it. Here we go. This is a good picture of it.
It's obviously just a made-up creature, so whatever we say is
it's called
correct.
the SAR. It's called the SARfish, but
the SARF.
The SAR, TSAR, SAR. The T is silent. Here's like a more of a diagram of it. Hold on, let me pull it up right now.
I like
So he thought this looked like a orca more so than.
I still think it's.
And his videos
no
on the
idea.
wiki. His
For me,
videos
it
on the
looks
wiki.
like a crocodile mixed with looks like it has little arms with fingers.
Yeah, they all morph a little bit, but he was mostly going off the face.
It's
And
an
I
evil
doubt you could see
mudskipper.
this
I
is
see
very
it
well.
because the eye is. I see where the eye is now. Yeah. But it
So
doesn't
when
look like an orca. This doesn't. No.
I would never. That
Definitely.
would not be my first thought for sure.
No, for sure. I would say crocodile because of the little leggies there with the fingers.
Look up the alligator gar. That's what this is. It's a mutated alligator.
The alligator gar.
Yes. GAR.
What is the difference between an alligator and a crocodile?
So alligator has a rounded snout, and it's
Okay.
like you only see the top teeth, and then a crocodile has a much longer snout, much more aggressive, and you can see all of their teeth.
Is this a
Also
fish?
different colors.
An alligator. Oh no, there's also freshwater crocodiles now. Yeah.
This is a thing.
We see them in Missouri all the time.
I
It's like
have
a
never heard this
sturgeon,
before.
sort of, kind of.
Yeah, but it's a predatory fish. They don't bite people, but they are pretty scary looking.
They're cool. I like them.
I just thought of the scariest thing for me in the ocean. I know I said some things earlier. I was always terrified of lamprey. Those things are creepy, like little blood-sucking.
Yeah, those are in the Great Lakes. You know that, right?
I know they are. Yes, I'm aware of this fact. I was like,
Yeah,
the
they
one
have no
thing.
mouth, or they don't have jaws. It's a
It's
jawless fish.
creepy. Like
So I
things.
taught a fish biology class. Well, I did a lab, And the professor who actually did the lecture portion brought me to the back room where he had all of his specimens. And he opened up a freezer and he had a bunch of lampreys. Like, look at my bitchin' lampreys. I'll never forget that, because it's like, who would describe lampreys as bitchin'? It's just a weird thing to say.
Just something about the round teeth and the long body. It's like snakes. It's like worse than snakes for me.
Yeah, look up the hagfish if you don't like fish in this shape.
Oh, yeah. Why'd you make me look this up? Actually, that parasite fish we looked at with Roanoke, they had the tongue replaced with the parasite. That's pretty weird.
Oh yeah,
too.
that one's cool.
Oh man, that is.
I mean, parasites in general can be pretty nasty looking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna get off of this train of thought now.
Do you know the bobbit worm? Do you know the bobbit worm?
How do you spell that?
Bobbit, B-O-B, bobbit worm. Yeah, exactly. Like they are really cool looking, but they are ambush predators, so they are hiding in the sand, and they suddenly just pop out and grab whatever is passing by.
Like Jack in the Box.
Yeah, kind of.
It's like the sandworms from Dune.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a bit smaller, maybe.
Same size.
Same size. Don't worry, Chris. They not eat you.
I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the Dune worms now. No, I'm just kidding. I've seen the original version of Dune. I haven't actually seen the new one yet. I've heard it's decent, but there's a lot that happens in it. That's what I've heard.
I haven't watched it either. No, just the older one too.
Look up how they got their name. Okay, do you know how the bobbit worm got its name? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Mm-mm.
All right, let me see if I can find it real quick, because somebody just said we should find it. So this will be the last thing I'm Googling. And then I do want to, I went to google.com by searching for Google on google.com. I'm losing my mind here. How the bobbit worm got its name.
Yeah, if you think about the variety of
oh my gosh,
shapes in the ocean is crazy.
It's a reference to Lorena Bobbitt, who was arrested for cutting off the genitals of her husband, John Bobbitt.
Oh, what?
That's how it got its name?
That's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Poor worm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moving on from that one. Is there anything that you would like to ask us? I think we're about at the end of the questions we had. So if you have any questions for us.
Yeah, how did you guys come up to decided to start the podcast? Actually, I always like to know.
Chris.
No, well, I tell it every time. You tell the story because
Chris twisted my arm and said I had to do it. Now, actually,
you guys were friends,
we were friends before, and then I lived in another
through our
state.
wives, actually.
Yeah, and we lived in different states, so we're like, well, how do we talk to each other?
How do we maintain a friendship?
Yeah, well, and we both like video games and different random sciencey things, so. We were like, hey, let's start a podcast. And the first couple of videos were extremely cringy. We were doing it just on our phones. And like mine was like up to my eyes. So it was pretty terrible.
The quality is definitely
the beginning
improved.
is always like that. You learn it.
Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much how it went. And then, Chris is really the brains behind everything. So he comes up with like the different formats and the different segments that we do. Yeah.
It used to involve a lot of editing, and then we learned better software, and then learned better software. And now we're on to StreamYard, which is the most seamless thing I've ever used to do this type of thing. So it's worked out way better since we did that.
Yeah, cool. I check. When did you start your the podcast?
Was it 2019?
Yeah, I think so.
We started it before any of the pandemic stuff started. Here, I go to the About section. We'll find out. Yeah, March 29th, 2019.
Okay.
But we figured, if we had a podcast, then we'd be forced to talk at least once a week and maintain our friendship.
Yeah. Hence why I was saying, like, Chris was twisting my arm. It's like, I don't want to talk to you.
Because I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Just kidding.
And it took us till about like earlier this year to figure out how to actually stream games co-op with each other. So we've been doing that lately too. So we could always game together offline, like without doing the podcast. But like we wanted to figure out how to do it live and be able to talk to people while we're doing it. So we finally figured that out as well.
Are you on Twitch as well?
We have a Twitch channel. We basically don't use it.
No one wants to see that.
I tried streaming the podcast to Twitch for a while, but we didn't have anybody watching. It was like maybe one or two people, like a couple people that watch on YouTube as well. So it was like we were double dipping. Like we were watching on Twitch or making the decision. We might go back to Twitch eventually, but it's just there's not much there for us. How about you? Do you ever stream to Twitch?
No, I have also a channel, a Twitch account, but I've never streamed. I don't know if I will. A lot of people tell me I should. A lot of people tell me I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the audience there is much younger.
Yeah.
And so it would be maybe a different audience. But I already do so many things. And I feel like at some point, I also like, should I start a TikTok or should I do? It's at some point I have to stop. Like, it's impossible to maintain.
We've learned that too many social media presences at once can get way too much mental strain. So Will and I we frequent Twitter. We have an Instagram. We use that a little bit, like contacting you work through Instagram, but not Twitter. Sometimes people are more active on that. Sometimes people are more active on Instagram. So it just depends. But
I cannot be on Twitter for long. I really don't like Twitter.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so toxic at times.
I'm there only I follow mostly scientists that put out their papers. And even then, sometimes it can get toxic on the comments. And I cannot spend too long.
I do like it when scientists are arguing with each other over a paper. It's like, especially when it's like a paper that tries to disprove another paper. It's like, oh, this is so great. It's getting so juicy.
Yeah.
Science
drama.
Yeah.
Somebody should make a science
mean
drama
to each other too. It's like, come on, guys.
Somebody should make a science drama channel and just report on science drama. That'd be
I'm sure
hilarious.
There's one.
There probably is. Was there anything else you wanted to ask us, or anything you want to talk about before we call it good?
No, I think this was good. Well, thank you a lot for having me.
Question I think you should answer one more first.
That's a good one.
What are some tips for people who want to? I would say get as soon as possible experience in research. So, for example, if you are at university, try to talk to your professors and people who are doing research, and try to get involved in the process of research somehow, like a couple of hours per week or something, because this will do two things. First of all, give you experience that you can add to your CV, which will be extremely important down the line. Like your experience and volunteering actually will give you three things. It will be good for networking and to get to know people. But also it will make you understand what you like or don't like, because marine biology is enormous and there are a lot of different things you can do within the field. So the earlier you can start experimenting with different topics and research fields, the earlier you will, more easily decide on the career path you want.
She's start a YouTube channel. No.
Start a YouTube.
I will say this: if anybody is considering doing YouTube, like, just do it. Like, the longer you procrastinate, the less likely you'll actually start. So.
If anything, that's all. If you want to do something, just do it. Don't wait for.
Yeah.
For the right time.
There's never one path either. So I mean, everyone would probably give a different answer to that question. So it's a little bit hard.
And also, that's a good answer too. Don't expect a clear path in your career. That's not only in marine biology. I think it can apply to many fields. Like, there's really this idea that you have to go this one direction, and once you're in this one direction, you cannot leave it. But I mean, there's so many things if you decide to change fields, if you decide you want to do something else, there's no problem with it. It's not a failure. It's just something, I've heard a lot of people, which was very interesting. A lot of people came to me when I was talking more about being a marine biologist, like people who had careers in other fields, telling me that at some point in their life, they thought about changing careers, but then they didn't because they thought they would be a failure. And that really, when they were 28 or 29 years old, you're young. I like to think that if you're 28, you're still young. So there's still so much life in front of you. That's not late to, change to what you really want to do. So that's also a good, Don't focus that you only have to do that one thing. Experiment, that's fine.
And sometimes you'll just pick something on a whim and find out you actually really love it. So
yes, definitely.
It's essentially how I did evolutionary biology. I had never taken an evolution class. I was biochem undergrad, and I was pre-med track. Worked in a hospital for a while, and I hated it. And then, I started doing evolutionary modeling, And that's how I got into it. So.
What are you doing now, actually, Chris? Will, sorry.
Right now, I am an R&D scientist with bumblebees.
Well, bumblebees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and mites and other like arachnids and insects that help in agriculture.
Okay, cool. So you're on the private company?
Yeah, I'm now. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
It's actually a Dutch company, even though I'm working in the U.S.
And they get frequent visitors from the homeland that the company's from. So that's probably an interesting culture clash for you.
It's run like a Dutch company. It is very different than American companies. Yeah.
What's the difference? I'm curious.
It's much more family oriented. So people know each other. They treat each other. It's just differently. So it's not like as cutthroat, I guess. And
American companies are more cutthroat, or
they can be for sure.
Oh,
and then it's like,
especially in research.
Yeah, and also because it's Dutch, it's also like heavily Christian. So that's something that you also don't really see much in the U.S. anymore. So like,
really,
yeah, all of our holidays are named after like the holiday break. So we actually have Christmas off, and they will actually say like, "Oh, it's Christmas, and Merry Christmas to you," and stuff. And that's something that you don't really see as much in the U.S. anymore. So
that's
things
so
like that.
Interesting. That I never thought about that. Like that, because I would assume Portuguese companies, Austrian companies operate like Dutch companies, or academia as well. We have all those Christian holidays. People are not very Christian, but they still do those holidays. And
usually they'll just say it's winter break or something.
It's kind of embedded in your in that culture over there, like the names and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yes, like I say Merry Christmas, and I'm not personally not religious, and most of the people around me are not, but we still celebrate as if we were. It's kind of interesting.
I totally understand.
All right.
Was there any other questions that you had? Oh, somebody wanted to say something real quick. They said, "Thank you, Chris, Will, and Maria, for all this great info, especially you, Maria. You are an awesome individual, and thank you for all your hard work. We need more people like you in the world."
Oh my God, thank you. That's a lot of compliments there. Thank you.
And I also wanted to say thank you for joining us. I know you have a lot of things you could be doing at this time. So
it was lovely. Thanks a lot.
Really appreciate it. Anything else you want to say, Will, before we conclude?
No, I just want to go to the ocean now.
Yes, me too.
That's a life goal, is to go.
I'll sit on the beach. You guys can go to the ocean. All right. Well, as always, I am Chris.
And I'm Will.
And before I say, I was going to say, make sure you guys subscribe to Maria if you're not subscribed.
And subscribe to CHRILLCAST.
Really appreciate that.
Yes.
And we will see you guys on
next one. Sorry. I was reading the comments. I forgot what I was doing.
All right. See you guys later.
See you guys. Bye-bye.